When I first met Adrian, I thought I had found the man I'd been waiting for my whole life. He was kind, thoughtful, and carried himself with a quiet confidence that drew me in immediately. He wasn't loud or flashy like the men I had dated before. Instead, he had this steady presence that made me feel safe. But as our relationship grew, so did a shadow inside me. That shadow was insecurity. An insecurity that soon made me want to erase everything about his life before me. It began with the simplest of things that seemed harmless at the time. He would tell me stories about his childhood or funny college memories, and I'd smile and laugh along. But whenever another woman's name came up, my chest would tighten. There was one name in particular. Clara. She wasn't in his life anymore, but she had been his first serious girlfriend, the one he dated for 3 years before me. Every time her name slipped into conversation, I felt like I was competing with a ghost. At first, I tried to hide my discomfort. I'd change the subject or brush it off with a sarcastic remark. But soon, it wasn't enough. I started making requests. Small ones at first. "Do you really have to keep those pictures from college?" I asked one day, pointing to a photo album tucked on his bookshelf. Adrian smiled patiently and said, "They're just memories, not feelings. They don't mean anything now." But I didn't believe him. One evening, when he wasn't home, curiosity got the better of me. I pulled that album down and flipped through the pages. There she was. Clara. Her smile was wide, her arm draped around his shoulders, both of them looking carefree. My stomach churned. I slammed the album shut and shoved it back on the shelf, but the image stuck in my mind like a thorn. From that night forward, I couldn't stop seeing her ghost standing between us. I began to push harder. "Why do you even need those old pictures?" I demanded one night. "Doesn't it feel wrong keeping them when you're with me now?" Adrian sighed. "They're part of my past. Part of my life. Erasing them doesn't change that." But I didn't want to hear it. To me, every remnant of his past love felt like a threat to our present. I wanted to be his only memory, his only story worth telling. The requests grew into demands. I asked him to delete old social media photos, to throw away gifts he'd once been given, to stop talking about people who weren't in his life anymore. Each time he resisted, we argued. I accused him of holding on to the past, of not loving me enough to let it go. He accused me of trying to control him, of not trusting him. And still, I pushed. One night, I found an old box in the back of his closet. Inside were letters, postcards, little keepsakes from years ago. None of them were romantic. Most were from friends, souvenirs from travels. But to me, they were proof that I wasn't enough to replace what came before. My hands shook as I stared at the pile. Without thinking, I gathered everything into a bag and threw it into the trash outside. When Adrian came home and noticed the box missing, his face fell. "Where is it?" he asked quietly. "I did you a favor," I said, my tone sharper than I intended. "You don't need those things anymore. You have me now." His eyes darkened in a way I had never seen before. "You threw away my memories?" "They were just clutter," I argued. "Why hold on to things that don't matter?" "They mattered to me," he said, his voice breaking. "Those weren't just things. They were pieces of my life. My story. And you had no right to erase them." For the first time, I realized what I had done. But instead of apologizing, pride kept me rooted in my anger. "So what? You care more about a box of old junk than me?" His shoulders slumped, and he shook his head slowly. "No. I care about the fact that you don't accept me as I am. You don't want the real me. You want a version of me that only exists for you. And that's not love." I tried to argue, to beg, but Adrian was done. He packed a bag in silence while I stood frozen, my heart pounding with dread. When he reached the door, I grabbed his arm. "Please, don't go. I just wanted to be enough for you." He turned to me, his eyes filled with sadness. "You were enough. But you couldn't see it. And in trying to erase my past, you erased us." With that, he left. The sound of the door closing echoed through the empty apartment, and I collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. The truth hit me like a wave. I had loved him so much that I suffocated him, trying to rewrite a life that wasn't mine to change. I thought if I erased his past, I could secure our future. Instead, I destroyed it. Now, all I have left are the memories I tried to erase. Memories of his laughter, his patience, and the way he used to look at me like I was all he needed. And the cruelest irony is that I'll carry those memories forever, even as he moves on without me.